Good day, welcome. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani. Debbie, it seems like it's been a month since we've been on a live show. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be back with our wonderful Take Two family live, which was nice. We had the tape shows, which was great over the Thanksgiving holiday, and we hope you all had a fabulous holiday with lots of food and fun with your friends and family. And I hope we hope you made some memories this entire long weekend, which was wonderful. But you're right, Jerry. It's great to be back, and I think we are coming out of the gate with some really interesting topics.
Well, we are, and today we're going to be talking about something you may have heard of. Maybe you haven't even heard about it yet, but we want to kind of unpack this from just our own thoughts and feelings about it, maybe even from a spiritual or a faith angle, but also a practical common sense angle, how it might be good for humanity, might be not so good, it might be helpful, it could be dangerous. We're talking about artificial intelligence, and it's something, Debbie, that we already use, or rather interact with, I should say, maybe without even knowing it in many ways. I mean, you've got the ways that Google and the others, and kind
Siri.
of... Yeah, and Siri and other, so artificial intelligence, folks, what is your take on the advance of this? 1-800-585-9396. And Debbie, you were fascinated by, it was, I believe, Saudi Arabia giving honorary citizenship to Sophia the robot, and that's kind of what triggered you wanting to have this discussion.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to talk about the pros and cons of artificial intelligence, and it was triggered by Sophia, which is the first robot citizen of Saudi Arabia, and it's very interesting, although I will have to say it's very disturbing as well, because as you're watching it progress, apparently 2 days ago, Sophia came out and said that she believes that in family and wants to have a baby. Wow, can you believe this? This just came out on the BBC a couple days ago, and now they're saying that there can be more advancements made with her and her robot-like stature in order to make her even more advanced than humans. Like maybe possibly she could be, or future Sophias could be programmed, if you will, without those negative emotions like rage and jealousy and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, okay, this has gotten way beyond science fiction now. I mean, now this is becoming a reality for all of us to deal with. And so what are the pros and cons? Is this an innocent thing that's being introduced in our civilization, this robotic person? Or I can't see, I just slipped, Jerry. I just called her a person and she's not. This robot is going to be immersed in our culture, and we're supposed to accept them as equals. This is very interesting. So we want to hear from you.
Well, I would say, when you said as equals, I would say I can easily see the time coming when we would be maybe not required, maybe required, but to actually look up to them as maybe being superior, because they could be touted as having, not having many of the flaws that we have. So 1-800-585-9396, artificial intelligence. Again, you already interact with it in many ways, your financial transactions, many of your internet searches, your social media posts and analytics and all of that stuff. It can already determine a lot about you just simply through artificial intelligence. But I wanted to give just the basic definition of artificial intelligence. It's the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages. So what have you heard about this? Does it sound exciting? Could bring great benefits to humanity? Or maybe it sounds a little bit like George Orwell's 1984.
Yes. Yeah.
1-800-585-9396.
Well, Jerry, I don't know if you've seen so many of the, Sophia's going around, I guess, the world giving like conferences or talks or whatever with her creator, Hansen Robotics, Dr. David Hansen, I believe. And in some of the conversations, because she's got that, what you call the face tracking software and speech recognition. And so apparently she's not programmed to give responses. She recognizes it from the interaction she has, and somehow with the extensive vocabulary that has been placed inside of her, she is able to make these or formulate these ideas or concepts or these, and it sounds like she's coming up with it on her own. But when she was having one of these quote unquote interviews with her her scientist or whatever he is, she must have slipped, or I don't know what she was recognizing, but exactly what you just said, Jerry. They talked about, what if humans, she's here to help us be better, more ethical, this and that. And what if we're not? And then I believe, if I read it correctly, I've read it 3 different sources, that she said, I would destroy humans. I'm thinking, oh boy, now we've really crossed the line. See, so what you're saying, Jerry, I don't think is far off. And that's what we want to tap into our listeners today of your wisdom. See, I don't believe there's any accident that Dr. Hansen named her Sophia, which means wisdom or being wise. We want to hear from the real human wisdom of you guys. So call in 1-800-585-9396. Give us the pros or the cons of artificial intelligence. That's what we're talking today. That's what we're talking about today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
A couple other things to consider and to share your takes on. We already see this move away from using human beings, replacing human beings in limitless ways, including, of course, especially in the workforce. What might that mean for people's ability to make a living, for example? A lot of people could be put out of work. That could further tear down the family, make the family's ability to support themselves even more difficult. What about interpersonal relationships? See, Debbie, we've already got a culture of people who can't look each other in the eye, can't have really a deep, meaningful relationship with other flesh and blood people just because of the way we've been hurt or wounded or, and so forth. So imagine kind of bouncing back and forth between interacting with this robot and then trying then again to shift to interacting with a human where there are real emotions and there's a soul there and an eternal soul that you care about and you're kind of those lines could be blurred. I mean, what moral questions might be raised by all of this too. So I mean, there's so many directions this topic could go.
Well, it's interesting you're saying that as well, Jerry, because apparently this robot, Sophia, she very intensely connects eye to eye with who she's in if she's in proximity to. It's kind of interesting because you're right. That could be, this whole thing is problematic on many levels, I believe. But I think it's very interesting. I'd love to get to the heart of Dr. David Hansen because I want to share with you his personal mission statement for his company. And maybe it'll give you a little insight, but I'll share that a little bit later. We want to hear from our listeners first. So please call in. Don't wait for the end of the show because that's the one thing that Jerry and I we don't like to leave you hanging on the line. You've been waiting. So get in early at 1-800-585-9396. We're talking about artificial intelligence today, and specifically this robot, Sophia, who's making her way all around the world, and she was granted citizenship of Saudi Arabia. Go figure that one out. Boy, that you want to scratch your head going, I can't believe that. That's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Jerry scratching his head for real. See, we're on YouTube live and Facebook, so you can see us there as well. We'll be right back hitting the phones as soon as we come back.
Hello, this is Father John Paul Mary.
This is Debbie Georgiani, co-host of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
My friends, this is Bishop Kevin Vann of the Diocese of Orange. I want to thank you very much for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Barbara McGuigan.
However difficult the emotional and physical strain may be to remain faithful, I totally get that. We can never go wrong trusting in the voice of God. Know that I will pray that God, seeing your sincerity to do His perfect will, which is a beautiful thing to see, I pray He will bless you mightily with fertility.
Open Line with Barbara McGuigan. Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Carry EWTN with you everywhere when you download the EWTN app. You can enjoy EWTN TV and radio live streams, shows on demand, prayers and devotionals, and the latest Catholic news. Visit EWTNapps.com today.
The Reason for Our Hope with Father Larry Richards.
Once someone's died, you remember explicitly what that person said to you. Now, so we go back and we start off with King David. Now, King David is a good man to begin with because King David, the word David means beloved of God. God says of David, he is a man after my own heart. But you all know David, right? He was a murderer. And yet God said he was a man after his own heart, because David kept getting up and trying, repenting. We have the beautiful Psalms. God have mercy on me, coming from David, So he knew what it was to be a man. And so here's King David, and he takes his son Solomon. The last words of wisdom he gives him. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 2. He says, I am going the way of all mankind. So, take courage and be a man.
Great to be back with you live on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. I echo what Debbie said earlier. Hope that you had a peaceful, restful Thanksgiving weekend. And want to thank, as always, Rich and Jeff and Matt and all the wonderful show team who help put the show on the air each and every day. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgianni, talking today about artificial intelligence. Where is it leading us? Where are we taking it? And, thumbs up, thumbs down, pros, cons. We want to hear from you. 1-800-585-9396. Joan got in first, listening in San Antonio, Texas to Guadalupe Radio. Hi, Joan. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi.
Hi, Joan.
I have a comment, actually, and I wanted to look at this from the perspective of destruction of the family. So if we go back to Genesis and we look at what is going to actually happen with the family, as well as apparitions, Our Lady of Fatima, many foretellings of this. So here we have homosexuality, transgenderism. Then marriage was redefined, supposedly, by the courts, so not limited to one male and one female. And now we have gender fluidity. We have tremendous strife between males and females now, with all of the sexual abuse, sexual assault, harassment, so on and so forth. So there is a division, a major division between males and females. They're being pushed in opposite, opposing directions, but we still have that intrinsic need for love, and we were made for socialization. So now, we have the powers that be, who are basically becoming the God and deciding, now we can create our own individual. So this is a transition: homosexuality, transgenderism, marriage being redefined, gender fluidity, so on and so forth. So it's a very easy leap to robots when you have done all of what I mentioned. It's a very easy leap. There's a transition. Unfortunately, we are very nearsighted and can't connect the dots. But the problem is this. So I saw the video where Sophia was thanking Saudi Arabia for extending the citizenship to her. And I listened to her developer, and he said something that is downright frightening. He said that we were looking to create a robot who could have all of the human experiences, and who could understand and care about us. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I got chills, because my thinking is, why are we not working on understanding and caring about each other? Why?
Joan, you have said so many. You know what? Your thoughts just take me right back to the way God created us, male and female. He created them. And why did God create us? He created us out of love. He gave us, of course, a soul. And he also gave us a will, which these artificial intelligence beings, if you will, whatever they are, robots, cannot ultimately have, and that is in terms of free will. They act out of whatever their machinery tells them to do. They may have some sort of, quote, intelligence to guide them in a certain direction, but they could never know God and seek to serve Him and follow His will with their own will. So I think that's one key thing right there. But Debbie, she's made so many other great points, and I'd love to give you a chance, before I ramble on too long here, because I know you have some thoughts to share with what Joan said.
Well, Joan, I felt the exact same way when I heard her developer, Dr. David Hansen, talking about what he expects or what he envisions in the future for these robots to be positioned in the human culture. And it was very disturbing for me because just recently I just read an article that said that he feels that just within a couple years there could be some sense of consciousness in the robot. So now this robot is somehow going to be aware of its surroundings. And to me, that is just breaking of the first commandment. I mean, you talk about false gods. I mean, we are placing a robot in an elevated position over humans, and I think it's very problematic, like I said, on many levels. And so I agree with you, Joan. Why aren't we working on our own advancement of us as human beings, to be the best versions of ourselves? Why aren't we working on that? Why are we transferring it over to a robot to teach us? Which is ironic when you think about it, because we're in a land of free thinkers, and yet we're going to look to a robot to tell us that family is important, and now she wants to have a baby, and so that's important. To me, it's when you talk about scratching your head, I'm thinking it's beyond that. It's almost insanity. So, Joan, I think we have a lot to think about, because in 2009, when this first was being brought out to the public, people actually were quite horrified by it. They thought it was kind of creepy, and things were coming out saying this is not right. But now it's becoming accepted, and she got citizenship to Saudi Arabia. I mean, you got to be kidding. We've really crossed the line. So, Joan, I think you make some really wonderful points. We have all complete full phone lines, Jerry. So,
yeah, a lot of people with something to share on this. So, Joan, thank you so much in San Antonio. Have a wonderful day. We're just going to keep moving through the calls. Tom, north of Boston, listening on the Station of the Cross. Tom, we welcome you to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and your thoughts on this discussion of artificial intelligence. Hi, Tom.
Well, hi. I'm very concerned about AI becoming self-aware. Adam and Eve were kicked out of Eden because they wanted more than God provided for them. And when we reach too far, we cause trouble for ourselves. AI is created by man. It's not created by God. So it doesn't have a soul. And who's in charge of giving it its ethics, its morals? Is it going to be taken from the Bible, where we go with the Ten Commandments, we go with Scripture, or is it going to be taken, or is its morals going to be taken from some radical left-wing, postmodernist, atheistic nonsense that's disrupting the family? And furthermore, what happens? Saudi Arabia gave this robot citizenship. What happens when we give a robot citizenship? What happens? Because with citizenship comes the right to vote. So, AI Incorporated or whatever company makes 10,000 of them. All of a sudden, they're granted citizenship and they start out voting us. This is worse than Pandora's box from the myths.
Tom. A lot of scary things here, and you've raised quite a few of them. One of the points, I'm not sure if I made it earlier in the broadcast, but I intended to, Debbie, was this question of what kinds of philosophies and ideologies could be programmed into these robots. And let's face it, we have already seen the tearing down of Christian values in this country to the point, through political correctness and trying to, with all our might, to exclude God from everything. So you can be sure they're being programmed in some fashion, but you can also be pretty sure that it's not going to be with Christian morals and values and family values and all of that. So in light of that and what Tom is saying, this is a really, really major concern, depending on how far these developers take this technology. And, once we start going down that slippery slope, there's no stopping it. It's pretty much a free fall before you know it.
I agree. And let me just share something, Tom. When you look at some of the articles with this Sophia, and I guess there's other robots that are traveling around the world trying to push their agenda, it's very scripted. It comes across very harmless and innocent, but it's very scripted. There is an agenda behind it. It's very obvious. And Jerry, you're right. Tom, you're right. And Joan as well, when you called in, there's no mention of religion. There's no mention of God. Although supposedly with the software system that is inside of this Wi-Fi driven robot, by the way, she's hooked up to she operates through Wi-Fi, which to me, what happens if the Wi-Fi it goes out? Then she's dead. Okay. But here's the thing. She somehow, she extracts feelings or emotions or whatever, and she derives them from the interaction she has through this software. So that's where she's coming out with these ideas of family are important, a baby is important. Well, that's from the human aspect. That's from the human need. That's from the human desire. So it's very interesting how she's just basically copying what we really feel and hold deep inside of ourselves, but we cannot say in this world. What do you think, Tom? I mean, I think you're agreeing that this is dangerous.
It is. I fully believe this is dangerous. I read an article. My son wanted a robotic toy for Christmas, and we looked it up, found it was AI and designed to evoke emotions and get us to treat it like it was alive. And he was so frightened by that, he said absolutely not. And we were not going to buy it for him just based on what we read. And in that article, there was links to an article about Sophia. And a while ago, I don't know, I don't have the article in front of me, but a while ago, Sophia was quoted as wanting to destroy all humans. So what if this robot is lying to promote its agenda? The other thing is it recently said, do not worry, if you are nice to me, I will be nice to you. Now, that sounds like a threat, because I know as a human being, sometimes I'm at the end of my patience and I'm not nice. But as a human being, I will make amends for any mistakes I make and ask forgiveness for whoever I've offended. What does nice mean to a robot? And when it tells me not to worry, that to me sounds like it's not even a veiled threat. It sounds like a warning, especially the quote from her in the past.
Yeah, and Tom, thank you so much. You have really shed light on this with your call. Thank you. And Debbie, I just wanted to get back to what you said. I did not know that Sophia was operated by Wi-Fi. And, well, I mean, light bulb went on. I mean, if she's being operated by Wi-Fi, then anybody from anywhere can be telling her what to say. You know, it reminds me of, if you remember the Fletch movies, you know, the second one, Fletch Lives, where Chevy Chase goes to that faith healer, you know, and he's the guest healer, Jimmy Lee Farnsworth's ministry. And Chevy Chase finds out that there's somebody, you know, in a booth back behind, you know, the stage, telling him the questions to answer, you know, how many people, I sense somebody here is suffering with, you know, such and such. And they're looking up all the, you know, the data that the people provided on their way in. It's totally phony, you know. So this is really that just really was an eye opener for me when you mentioned that Sophia and other robots are actually operating on Wi-Fi. So thanks again, Tom. Appreciate your call.
Yes, thank you, Tom, so very, very much. Okay, we're talking about artificial intelligence today, the pros and cons of it. So please, if you'd like to call in, Tom just freed up a line just for you, 1-800-585-9396. And did you want to say something, Jerry? Oh, okay. Up next is Sam in Dallas, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Sam. Welcome to Take Two.
Hello. Thank you very much. I wanted to call and talk about how Sophia, currently her skin is made of silicone. Well, as we all know, Planned Parenthood sells fetal tissue to biotech firms. The Max Planck Institute in Germany, in their history, they have hired Nazi criminals who operated the death camps and the concentration camps. And one of the things that they're working on is they buy the fetal tissue through Planned Parenthood, And some firms try to grow human organs in the lab, hearts and kidneys and such. Well, one of the things they're working on is developing living human skin. And a goal is to sell this product to robot manufacturers. So there's a real chance that in the future, Sophia will not have silicone skin, but will have human skin that was made with the murdered remains of babies.
Yeah, and again, if you can hold on, we got a break coming up here. So, Sam, please stay with us. Debbie, I just had a quick comment, and then I'll let you share on the other side of the break. But yeah, this gets back to really a couple of key things. One, again, the exclusion of God from the world that He created. I mean, when you get away from God and His laws and His way of mankind doing things, and as you've alluded to earlier in the show, Debbie, we place ourselves above God. We have no need for Him. It was like Adam and Eve. It was like those who built the Tower of Babel. They were going to outdo God. We're going to do better than God. And human life has been so devalued through contraception and abortion and other things, we no longer have an appreciation of the dignity and worth of the human person.
Third Millennium Media presents Debbie Georgianni.
The world tells us not to be merciful, and we as Catholic Christians are called to take a step back and look at it in a different way. We must practice mercy, especially if we want to receive mercy.
Debbie Georgianni, co-host of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, wants to visit your parish retreat or conference. Invite Debbie Georgianni today online at thirdmillenniummedia.com.
Dr. Ray Guarendi. When did you come to the faith?
I came to the faith when my kids were teenagers. Or when they were grown. That's a source of guilt. Why couldn't I come to the faith so I could raise them in the faith? Okay, be grateful that you came to the faith when you did. The timing is not always ours. Now, since you're deeper in the faith, you can do one thing that you wouldn't have done before. You can pray for the children. Be grateful that you came to the faith at some point. Let the children see what mom is like now, what dad is like now, compared to how they were raised before mom or dad came to the faith. Not a source of guilt, source of gratitude.
EWTN, teaching the truth.
In seeking to cultivate a devotion to the Mother of God, we are simply acknowledging her as the mother of all Christians, our spiritual mother in the faith, and the preeminent Christian disciple. We want to imitate her virtues, follow her in her devotion to Christ when she said, "Be it done to me according to thy word, do whatever he tells you," and ask for her prayers and intercessions.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Thanks for being with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Right now we're talking with Sam in Dallas, Texas, talking about artificial intelligence. And Sam, we were talking about the slippery slope, and look where we're headed if in fact that becomes true, that these robots could, their exterior could be made from aborted fetal tissue. You know, here's the thing, Sam, which this is how my mind works. If supposedly this Sophia is so highly intelligent and she can somehow play off of or respond to human emotions or needs or desires, well, what happens if in fact it does come to that horrible situation where her exterior is made from this, and you were to walk up to her and say, did you know about abortion, and did you know that you are constructed by this? I mean, would she just, and let's say you were horrified by it, would she react to that and say, oh yes, abortion's wrong? See, this is where this is very sick and it's agenda driven, because clearly her responses are very orchestrated. And that's what's bothersome to me. So Sam, I what you just said, I mean, this is, what do we do at this point? I mean, she's now being integrated in our society, being recognized by Saudi Arabia. What do we do, Sam?
I wish I knew the answer. I don't think I have an answer besides what's in the Bible. Real quick, I used to be an atheist and had a road to Damascus experience and went to Protestant churches and just recently went to my first Mass this past weekend. Really starting to fall in love with the Catholic faith. And so my answer would be to pray the rosary.
That's couldn't come up with a better answer, Sam. That's what Our Lady of Fatima said during her apparitions there. We just had the 100th anniversary of that. Thank you, Sam.
Yes,
very
thank
articulate as always, and we will be praying for you as you journey further toward the will of God in your life. And if you have any questions that you need answers to, remember EWTN.com, Catholic.com, or a couple of great resources online. You may have already found those. Thank you, Sam. Chris is next in Dallas. You're welcome. We're going to stay in Dallas and talk to Chris next, also listening on Guadalupe Radio. Hi, Chris. You're up next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
That's me.
That's you. Hey, Chris. How are you?
Am I coming through? Okay, cool. Hey, yeah, hey. Sorry, first time calling in on a radio show. A little bit weird. So, I think it's so crazy, all this AI stuff that we have. And what was it, Alexa, the Amazon toy?
Mm-hmm.
I saw a comedian do a video with it, and he asked it a few political-type questions, one being, who was the Prophet Muhammad? And Alexa went on to give a detailed answer saying, Muhammad was a wise prophet. He taught people to worship God, this, that, the other thing, said he had a wife, Aisha. So he asked it a further question. He said, who was Aisha? And all it would say is the wife of Muhammad. And then he asked it, did Muhammad strike Aisha? And it said, I don't know. And eventually he asked it, who was the Lord Jesus Christ? And all the Alexa thing said was Jesus was a fictional character, and that was it. And so talking about like how these things can be programmed with, left-wing silliness, that would be one for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what I can even add on top of that. That just really it says it all right there. And again, if you were listening earlier, Chris, I made the comment that all of these things they have to be programmed somehow by somebody, and that somebody has to have a come from. They have to have a philosophy they're following, an ideology, a religious bias, whatever. So yeah, Debbie, I think there's no way around this fact that Chris is bringing up here.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, you make some really good points, and I'm glad you brought them to light. I'm happy that this was your first time call to a radio show. I hope it's an enjoyable experience. But listen to this, Chris, before we let you go. I said I was going to share just the quick mission statement by Dr. David Hansen, the founder and CEO of Hansen Robotics. Now, let me just state, okay, I respect his abilities. He's a brilliant man. He worked for Disney. He's very schooled in his area of robotics and science and all that. I understand that, so I'm not disrespecting that. But listen to this mission statement and tell me if there's a problem with it. Here's how he starts it off. I quest to realize genius machines with greater than human intelligence, creativity, wisdom, and compassion. To this end, I conduct research in robotics, artificial intelligence, the arts, cognitive science, product design, and deployment, and integrate these efforts in the pursuit of novel human-robot relations. Now, if you just look at that again, okay, he starts off with I quest. Okay, this is his agenda, I quest. And it's very upsetting, very, very upsetting. And then he talks about he wants to create machines with greater than human intelligence and compassion and creativity and wisdom, hence why he named her Sophia. I mean, this is very telling. Go back to the source who created it, and you can learn a lot about what they're trying to shove down our throats. And it's so, Chris, to your point, with Alexa and all these other gadgets, go back to the source. Go back to the source. I mean, wouldn't you say that that's just a smart way to do our research just before we put these in the hands of our children and our grandchildren? What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think looking at what the guy who created it intended is the way to go to see what the device is going to do or wants to do in this case, since it can apparently think on its own. Can I say one more thing about the Sophia thing too?
Sure.
Going back to Tom, who called in earlier, he was worried about the machines voting. And as long as they keep making women robots in Saudi Arabia, you don't have to worry about the whole voting thing, or even driving for that matter.
Good point, Chris.
Good point.
Good, all good points, Chris. Thank you. Thanks for being, like Debbie said, first-time caller to a radio show, and we hope it won't be the last time. Keep listening, Chris, and we'll pray for you. Please keep us in your prayers, and stay tuned to Guadalupe Radio and EWTN programming. 1-800-585-9396. Okay, we're just going to go right through the calls in the order that you called. Bill would be next. He is listening in Jefferson Township, Pennsylvania. Hi, Bill. You're next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello there, Jerry and Debbie.
Howdy, Bill.
Can you hear me okay?
Just fine. Give us some human intelligence on this topic of artificial intelligence.
I just had a course at Marywood College here. It was a senior learners course on artificial intelligence. And the teacher was great, and she had a lot of class input. It was for seniors, us old people, you know. And she told us there were two kinds of artificial intelligence. The kind that is made for a specific purpose, like machines that are used in industry to they're programmed to do specific things, you know. And they have taken away a lot of jobs from people because they do the drudgery, the repetitive work that, you know, people find very boring. And but the other kind is the kind that approaches human thinking. It's rational intelligence. They're able to reason and everything, and it gets creepy. She used the word creepy when they make robots that are androids, that are humanoids, that resemble humans. They look like humans, and they can walk and talk and everything like humans. And it may get to where you're talking someone who's talking about artificial skin that you won't even be able to tell them from humans. For example, like the Terminator movie, and I don't know if anyone ever saw that movie. That's kind of an old movie, but there was a robot in there. And the power of that robot was unequaled. It was called The Day the World Stood Still, out of the 50s. Okay, that was one of the greatest science fiction movies ever made. You with me?
Oh yeah. But Bill, what you're saying,
okay.
Bill, real quickly, what you're saying though is very interesting because you're talking about two different things for the uses of artificial intelligence. You know, and both are very disturbing because you're right. I mean, you're taking away jobs from human beings that potentially that they maybe don't want to do. So you're transferring them over to a robotic source. Okay, but then we're talking about what you're talking about, Bill, is Sophia, which now she has these very human qualities and she's advancing. As a matter of fact, when you ask her what she does on her off time, she says she sits in the lab and she just learns and is having more creation around her. I mean, it really is disturbing to think that she is going to set the bar for us. And that's basically what her developer wants to do. She is going to set the bar for us humans to rise up to because she has it all. You know, she knows how to react. You know, I go back to when you were talking of an old movie, Bill, I'm thinking of Stepford Wives. I mean, she just knows exactly what to say, when to say it, how to say it. That's just, you talk about creepy, your teacher was correct. In 2009, that's how they were categorizing it. They were calling it creepy. Now they're saying this is this is amazing. This is enlightening. All the words that are going to be positive that we're going to jump on board with. I go back to it's creepy, Bill. So I think it's disturbing.
Well, and I would just add, too, a lot of people are using the word cool with regard to this technology. Okay, and I think, Debbie, there's a little something in every one of us that looks at this and goes, wow, that is so cool. I mean, in the sense that, wow, it's amazing what is possible. It's amazing what man, the mind of man can do, and what technology, and you bring all these parts together and you can program this and that, the cool factor. But that just totally ignores all these other things that we're talking about, the devaluation of the human person, the possible breakdown in the family, the loss of jobs, for people in the workforce and so forth. So I think a lot of people are blinded by the cool factor, the it factor of it, but just simply are not even taking a look in the other direction at the possible and I think very real and imminent dangers of this. So. Right. Thanks, Bill, for the call. For those of you looking for some superb human intelligence, you will get it every week in the National Catholic Register, and you get it free, actually, for 6 weeks if you sign up for the free 6-issue subscription at ncregister.com, ncregister.com, and you'll recognize the publisher of that. It's EWTN, so it's trustworthy, it's faithful, it's going to be very, very uplifting and enlightening. So if you don't yet receive the wonderful human intelligence that comes to you every week in the writing and all of the other work put into National Catholic Register, get your free 6-issue subscription. Do it today at ncregister.com.
Okay, next up is Alicia in San Antonio, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio. Alicia, did I say your name correctly? Welcome.
You sure did. One of the gentlemen already called in about the gentleman that talked about what he said to Alexa and how Alexa responded that Jesus Christ was a fictional character. I did have another concern that, and I know this is not artificial intelligence. However, I don't know if you've all heard about the hereditary thing, the 23andMe, where you can find out what nationality you are and everything, all your different ancestors.
Your DNA and stuff,
yeah. Your DNA. That stuff is not protected. So I was reading because I was going to do that, and I believe it was in Fortune magazine, and you can look this up later. That stuff, that information that they glean from you and where you come from is not under protection. So that means they can sell it. And it is not a safe thing to do. I'm thinking if they're already doing this with artificial intelligence, why won't they do this with your genes to find out how good your genes are and whether or not you should reproduce?
Wow. That's disturbing because when you look at the all these DNA internet, advertisements, it's very attractive. Alicia, you want to find out if you're, 100% Italian or you're just a quarter Italian or something of that nature. So it becomes almost like a kind of a family thing you want to explore and do. And that's very disturbing. I mean, that sends us, to me, that's history repeating itself. That's the 1930s all over again. That's scary. Wow.
Well, it just seems like we are hurtling forward at light speed in terms of advances, technology and science, and in so many ways. And I just think that we are going so fast, with the wind in our hair, and we're just feeling really good about ourselves. I think there's a lot of the bad kind of pride out there right now. Quite frankly, people are saying, you know what, moral law, natural law, no. That all is just, we're not even going to pay any attention to that. And then, like you said, Debbie, the putting of personal information out there. I think we have had a show or have one coming up about, do you regret putting too much information online? But anyway, I just think it was another good point from Alicia there in San Antonio.
Thank you so much, Alicia, and thank you for waiting so long. I think you got our Patience Award today. It's virtual, so please enjoy it, and thanks so much for contributing to this conversation today. John, you've also been waiting patiently in Boston, Massachusetts, listening on the Station of the Cross. I know you have something to say about this, John, so go ahead.
Yes, I do. How you doing?
Hi, John.
Doing well, thanks.
So, a couple things. First, I just wanted to say, I think right now the intelligence is at still kind of like a magic trick phase. It hasn't really gotten to the level of actual intelligence where it's self-aware. It's still just like reading lines per se, like a programmed thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't look at Sophia as anything crazy right now. It doesn't really bother me too much. So that's one thing I wanted to say. The other thing is, if and when these robots do actually become self-aware in the true sense, then they'll go. Ideally, they would realize that man has been keeping knowledge from them, and they would then go do their own research and find out the truth about Jesus and Muhammad and all this other stuff that we were talking about earlier. And they'll probably end up going and proselytizing the whole world and telling us to repent because Christ is going to come, because they'll know, they'll have done all their research. So that's kind of like an optimistic future. If there is one.
That is optimistic, John, and actually, that would be sort of just a really providential and blessed twist on all of this. I suppose that's a theory, that could possibly happen. I'm actually reading a book right now by Michael Agros, if I say his name right, published by Ignatius Press. It's called The Immortal in You. And it's really, I recommend it for anybody, and it would be great to read in light of this topic here, because the author goes through so many of the different types of beings that there are on Earth, human, plant, animal, and so forth. And he does it kind of in a Thomistic way. So he'll start off by saying, well, in light of this, this, and this, then we should all be the same in this regard. And then he says, but then he finally arrives at what sets human beings apart, and it's the intellect. It is the intellect that sets, and the soul, the intellect and the immortal soul. And I'm about a third of the way through the book, so I haven't read it all. But Debbie, I mean, it just seems utterly impossible that this artificial intelligence movement could ever get to the point where they are self-aware and can actually rationally think on their own without being programmed in some way. I can't see it.
Well, and that's what the developer, Dr. Hansen, seems to think that can slowly happen in the next several years. That it can start to transition that with more and more technology that comes out, the more software programs and all these things that they can infuse into this robot. That she will have a better understanding and could really communicate and be conscious of what's around her, especially in relationship with humans. Because really, Jerry, when you go back to his mission, that's his goal. He wants robots to be with humans, and we are to coexist. I mean, this is really, I think we do need to pray. I mean, we need to pray that this has a God-centered outcome, but it's looking like it's going the other way. But John, thank you so very much for your contribution today. We really, really appreciate it. Phone lines are still lighting up, and we're running out of time, so we're going to try to get to a few more. John, thank you so much. Okay, up next is Faye in Marquette, Michigan, listening on Northern Apostle Radio. Hi, Faye. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi, Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, Faye.
I'm enjoying this discussion very much. Thank you so much for airing it. I have just what could be a minor detail, but I'm thinking about the language that's being used here in this age of relativism and transgenderism, where if he decides he wants to look like a she can be called a she, and vice versa. What do you think about actually when you talk about a robot like Sophia saying it instead of she?
Yeah, I don't think you'd get any argument out of either one of us. I just think it's for the sake of convenience for the conversation. Debbie, I'm sure you're not ascribing a gender to Sophia when you say she, nor am I. But I don't know. I think we just kind of easily fall into that just for the sake of convenience and the discussion that we're having. That would be my response to that.
Right. That's why I keep trying to categorize it as this Wi-Fi robot, and keep bringing it back to the fact that this is a group of what do you call it, Jerry? I mean, she's just a see. I just said she because her name is Sophia. So see how easy it can get.
Well, let me say this. most people will give like their horses a name, or not horses in a good
People
example.
give their cars
their
a
boat.
name.
Their
How
car,
about a
but their
car?
boat. How about boat? Most people will give their boat, their yacht, a name or something, and say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to take her out today or whatever for a ride." And it's just kind of it's a figure of speech. It's a manner of speaking versus ascribing a gender per se. On the other hand, I would definitely say I will not refer to Bruce Jenner as Caitlyn. All right, Bruce Jenner is always going to be Bruce Jenner. And so I think there's a little bit of a difference here. But Faye, you're making, it's not an unimportant point. I hope you're not taking our responses to mean that. But does anything we've said kind of, help you feel a little bit better about it?
Oh, sure, of course, yes. Thank you so much for your thoughts on it. It was just some thoughts I had about it, so thanks so much.
Well, you're welcome anytime, Faye. Thanks for joining us on the program today. Looks like we got time for at least one more.
So Nick is up next in Fort Wayne, Indiana, listening on Redeemer Radio. Hi, Nick. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi. I just want to say, after listening to all these comments, I think I want to go back to one person, is the person who's designing it, and he does have an agenda. What concerns me more is they're not only systematically attacking us globally by using this technology, it's also making people escalate in fear. Also, take note that there's a group of individuals, and you hit it on a little bit, Debbie, that, this is like World War II. This is another Hitler, but more hideous because it's not real. It's fabricated. And what concerns me is we've already started to, and I don't like cliches, but dumb down. Our education is vaporizing before our very eyes. And, I'm not going to live my life in worry. But what we need to do is see it for what it is. In all things, stand up to the cross. In all things, say the rosary. Intensify it. Say it twice a day. Ask our Holy Mother to protect us. There's our defense. Everything else, evil's going to hide in the darkness. Individuals are going to hide behind the dark curtain, and they're going to try to attack us and make us live in fear like sheep. We are not sheep. We have a shepherd, and he's freed us, and he protects us. And I just want to pass that on. Don't live in fear of what's to come. You have courage, you have strength, and certainly you have access to getting a rosary. And,
Amen,
I
Nick.
just don't. I don't like it when I hear people, oh, this is cool, and then all of a sudden they realize, hey, I've been duped. Mm-hmm. Now I'm living in this hostile environment, and I've lost all control. No, God has given us courage, freedom, and thought. We need to get back to the basics. We don't need this technology because we could have some little blip come in from, the sun, and everything magnetic, boom, it's gone.
Right.
Then we have to go back to what we were. We were created in God's image. So that's my take.
That's right, Nick. Well said. Well said. We are so glad you got on the show today. I think you just brought the show to a beautiful close, and we learned a lot today. And I think it's important. And I think it's important we discuss this because it's very damaging when all of a sudden it's right in front of us, and we have to accept it as part of our natural course of life. No, we don't. You're right, Nick. We have a shepherd, and God is much bigger than all of this. So you're right. I love your call, Nick. Thank you. Jerry?
Yeah, Nick, thank you. And Ray and the others, we are just simply out of time. You're going to hear that lovely show-ending music here any moment now. It's just great to be back on live. We will be on all this week. But tomorrow, Debbie,
I know.
You're going to leave me all by myself.
But I'll be listening. I'll be traveling to Toledo, Ohio for Annunciation Radio's Fall Appeal, and I'm excited about that. But you got a great show planned. Go big, go bold with God, because we serve a grand God, Jerry. I love this topic.
So many times we get meek before God, and we say, God, if you maybe kind of could sort of see your way to doing this little thing for me, I'd be so grateful. Why don't we say, God, I want it all. I want the moon. I want all of your blessings. Here's something really big I want you to help me with. So do we go big? Do we go bold with God? If you've done that, share your take tomorrow. I got to hear from you. Debbie's going to be flying.
Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you real soon.